University of Virginia Center for Politics. I'm Brad Dick from the Chronicle. We're going to talk to Kyle here a little bit about what to expect tonight. Kyle, what can we expect tonight?
Well, you know, this convention has been kind of rocky at certain points, but I think that for Trump, you know, the last night's the most important one. This is where we're going to hear at length from Donald Trump. You know, in 2012, I think the Republicans had a really poor final night of their convention. Of course, that was Clint Eastwood speaking to a chair, and Mitt Romney got overshadowed. But you know, if Trump gives a well-received speech tonight, maybe he, you know, salvages this convention and gets bump out of it.
What does he need to do to salvage the convention and get that bump?
I think Trump's biggest problem is that people don't necessarily think he's qualified for the job. I don't know how you convince someone of that, but if Trump could figure out a way to do that, I think that'd be very helpful.
All right. What else can we expect to hear tonight from the other speakers?
I feel very confident that Ivanka Trump's speech is going to be very well received. I think the media has spent basically the whole week gushing over the Trump children, and even Melania Trump, until we found out that part of her speech was plagiarized. And I think it seems like a slam dunk prediction to say that Ivanka's speech is going to be very well received.
What did you think of the incident with Cruz last night and him being booed off the stage?
You know, a lot of people thought that was sort of Cruz setting up for 2020 and that Cruz came off looking good. And I actually think getting booed off the stage by your own party's delegates is not really a great look. And I don't think it was necessarily that big of a deal for Trump. And I don't know. I think ultimately Cruz ended up speaking a little bit too long. And I think that if Trump were to lose, Trump would make the argument that the party abandoned him, that people like Ted Cruz and John Kasich abandoned him. And frankly, I think a lot of people in the Republican Party, the people who like Trump, would agree with him.
All right, what do you think of Mike Pence's speech?
Too long. He went past 11 p.m., which, you know, some of the networks cut away or whatever. But I think that Pence's speech basically went fine. And while in some ways John Kasich, our governor here in Ohio, would have been a better choice for Trump as running mate, I could not imagine Kasich giving a speech that was that deferential and that supportive of Trump. And so, you know, the running mate is supposed to be, again, supportive, deferential. I think Pence was all of those things, and I think that Pence was ultimately kind of an average choice for VP, but sometimes that's okay. You know, VP ultimately isn't all that important, and so Pence, I think, passed the test.
What's been your overall impression of how this convention has gone for the Republicans this week?
Certainly, some of the logistics of the convention have been off. Some of the images haven't been all that great, both in terms of the fact that the first two nights, the convention hall was basically empty at the end of it, which wasn't a great look. You know, the Cruz thing was somewhat controversial, even though I don't think it was that big of a deal. But ultimately, I think this is going to be judged on Trump and Trump alone, and so we'll see how that goes. And I think from a local angle, just in talking to people, I think that Cleveland has done a decent job of hosting this convention. I think the venues have been very nice. And luckily, knock on wood, we haven't had a lot of really, you know, a lot of violence or anything like that. That said, that could all happen tonight. Cleveland gets a black eye from it, but I would say so far so good as we head into the final night.
Okay. And what can we look forward to in Philadelphia next week?
I think you're going to see more outward party unity. You know, unlike here where you didn't have the Bushes here, you didn't have Mitt Romney here, you didn't have John McCain. In Philadelphia, you're going to have Barack Obama, you're going to have the Clinton family, so of course former President Bill Clinton, and of course Hillary Clinton getting nominated, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. All the big figures in the Democratic Party are going to be there, and at least at an elite level, they're going to display more unity than they show here. Whether that matters or not in the grand scheme of things remains to be seen.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it. This has been Brad Dick with the Chronicle, talking to Kondik with the University of Virginia Center for Politics and author of the new book, The Bellwether: Why Ohio Picks the President.